Greetings, this is August 19th, and after the rain over the last couple days, some of those clouds have receded, and this gives us an opportunity to see what activity is occurring on the ground. There are far fewer hotspots showing up than we saw 3 days ago, but there is still activity. Those fire zones are still active, and we'll just take a quick scan and then we'll take a look at the firm system and some of the options and features that are available. This is satellite imagery from the Modus Terra from yesterday, and we can still see a lot of smoke and haze over the White Rock Lake fire zone. Through all that, there are still a couple of hotspots detectable south of the Monty Lake area. We've moved south and I've turned on a generic background screen. We're looking at the Manning Park East Gate fire zone. This is the Garrison Lake fire, and there are hotspot clusters still on the western and northwestern flank of this fire. I'm not seeing any closer to Highway 3, the Crow's Nest Highway, and Princeton is just north off screen. We are now moving eastward. This is the fire zone that's east of Oliver and Osoyoos. It's moved up onto the Okanagan Plateau west of Mt Baldy. There is still a lot of activity on that northeastern flank. If you are near this fire zone, I would recommend checking on the ground reports from BC Wildfire. The link is in the description below. We've now moved over to the west side fire. This is close to the Okanagan Connector, south of Glen Rosa, north of Peachland. Still lots of activity there on the Mount Law and Mount Drought side. Zooming in, we can see there are two hotspots being detected on the northern flank of this fire. That's directly south of the community. Moving a short distance north, this is the White Rock Lake fire zone again, and there are those two hotspots showing up to the south of Monty Lake, south and southwest. And in the North Okanagan, the Monashees, we have several clusters north of Sugar Lake. And moving northwest, we see one in the Chris Creek area in the Sparks Lake fire zone, 10 kilometers west of Gustafson Lake in the Flat Lake fire zone, and a couple just south of Gang Ranch in the Churn Creek fire zone. There is also wildfire crew activity in many of these fire zones, so do check the ground report at BC Wildfire in case there are control strategies at work. One of the aspects of fire monitoring is watching how the wind has an effect on these fire zones. Winds can come from the north, then they come from the west, then they come from the south, and back from the northwest again, and it pushes these fire zones around. In dry, windy conditions, what starts as a spot fire can quickly grow to a localized situation, and if that gets out of control, we can have a regional affair where access routes are affected and there is interface with the surrounding communities. This is a screen from BC Wildfire Service mapping system, and this is showing the Raft River fires. Winds were coming from the west, entering the valley entrance and blowing the fire to the south, eastward. The wind then wrapped northward and came up the top of the valley and blew the fire at the north end to the west. So if we're aware of the terrain, the vegetation, and where the prevalent winds are coming from, we can get an idea of where fires may end up. Here we're looking at infrared from the Flat Lake fire zone, and that's what gives it this odd shape on the northern flank. And infrared is a valuable tool. It lets us know where fire has been, but we still have to combine that with the wind and localized ground reports to figure out where it's going. And just so there's no alarm, this is a screen from a couple of weeks ago. On today's satellite scan, there is no infrared visible except for one hotspot 10 kilometers west of Gustafson Lake on the left-hand portion of the screen. So let's dive into NASA's Fire Information for Resource Management system and take a look at some of the features available. There is a drop-down menu in the top right-hand portion of the screen. From this, I go to the historical data. because I want to compare with yesterday and today. A timeline will pop up on the bottom of the screen, and we can go back and see what was the fire behavior and how it progressed. This is June 28th, the Lytton fire zone. Lytton is at the top portion of the screen, and we're rolling into the 29th, then the 30th, then July 1st, and July 2nd. So we can go back in time and click on hotspots and find data about them. What was the intensity, what satellite system picked them up, and use this information to determine how the fire behavior progressed. The mapping system is interactive, so you'll be able to use your fingers to zoom into your area. Then you'll be presented with hotspots from the VWIRS systems, that's the NOAA 20, the Suomi, and the MODIS systems, the Aqua and the Terra. And they orbit at different times, so a comparison between these systems can tell you where fire progression is within a 24-hour period. If you're not seeing heat detections, you may have to go back a day. The system may not have recorded new data. You can also scroll down on the right-hand menu and go to Dynamic Imagery. This will show you satellite images or photographs taken of the region. There's actually a lone hotspot being shown, but there's no updated satellite imagery, so we'll have to go back a day. And now the VWIRS NOAA 20 information pops up on the 18th, yesterday. Click again on the dynamic imagery and it goes away, and we see the generic blue marble screen. We can also adjust for the streets and topographical information. We're zooming in on yesterday's date to find out where that last known fire position was. Scroll back up on the right-hand menu and you can get to the overlays. Click on coastlines, borders, and roads detailed. Now the labels appear on the screen. We've clicked on today's date on the timeline at the bottom, and all the satellite systems are indicated, and there's our lone hotspot. There's a scale on the lower left-hand portion of the screen, and we're looking at the Flat Lake Fire Zone, approximately 10 kilometers west of Gustafson Lake. In the Fire Hotspots tab on the right-hand menu, there is near real-time data. That MODIS hotspot didn't disappear. It's just turned to a different color to indicate that it's about 12 hours old. So a lot of times what I do is turn back on dynamic imagery that hasn't uploaded yet, or the dark gray generic screen, just to see where those hotspots are. It can get a little hard on the eyes determining if there's new heat detections visible. So this is information from the 19th today. We're going back in time on the timeline to the 18th. We're looking at those hotspots that were visible yesterday with the MODIS Terra satellite imagery so that we can see what sort of cloud cover and atmospheric conditions were occurring yesterday. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, this is confusing, I'm never going to remember that, it's okay. Just click Current on the top right-hand menu and you'll see all the data for the last 24 hours. And for many people, this is all you'll need. As the satellites update, you may want to click on today's date and see if there's any new and recent data. If not, just go back to that 24-hour dot at the top of the menu. These are screens that I captured after the 12:30 a.m. MODIS update for August the 19th. So they weren't showing satellite pictures, but we were able to see the most recent hotspots being displayed. Then to compare with the atmospheric conditions, I clicked on 24 hours and all the prior hotspots showed up along with the satellite imagery. And you can still access the streets, the detailed overlays, and the generic backgrounds in the right-hand menu. But let's go back to the historical timeline and the advanced data. And we can click on the VWIRS near real-time or the MODIS near real-time and pick up useful information on when these hotspots were detected. Click the near real-time VWIRS and click on the plus sign, and you will have a drop-down menu that shows color-coded time since detection and a valuable resource, fire radiative power. And that shows us where the hottest parts of that fire line are. If you don't see this information, turn off those 4 satellite systems up above in the fire hotspots because they overlay on top. The darker blue colors indicate cooler temperatures, and the brighter orange colors indicate hotter temperatures. And there is a slider scale, so we can eliminate the cooler hotspots and just concentrate on the hot and likely most recent hotspots. The MODIS satellite data doesn't have this feature, only the VWIRS, and here we are zooming in to just east of Moose Valley in the Flat Lake Fire Zone, and we can see where the most fire intensity is in those lighter shaded hotspots. On the left-hand menu, one of the features that I highly recommend is the NASA Firm's Fire Email Alert, and this will send you information on any hotspots detected by the 4 satellite systems as they pass over an area that you've designated. I've designated the Chasm Park, and when anything comes near about a 50-kilometer radius, I get an email alert telling me that fire or heat was detected. Another option that you can select on the left-hand menu is firms data for US and Canada. The menu header will change to green, the title will change, and you'll have the option of looking at specific fire zones labeled by BC Wildfire. And you can toggle this on or off in the active fires on the right-hand menu. I personally prefer the global system with the red header bar because I like to see what's going on around the world. Also, if you get to the firm site and it is overloaded or busy, you may be asked to use the Firms 2 server, and there's a link to that in the description below. I like to use my own screen capture software, but they do give you that option on the lower bar. You can click that. It will download a file to your system. I've requested the title bar, the timestamp, and the legends on this example, but it didn't show up on the screen that was downloaded. One of the nice features is being able to see the hotspots over top of the dynamic imagery. This is how we can see if the cloud or atmospheric conditions are playing a factor obscuring hotspots. It's also convenient to see the imagery from the different satellite systems. Here's the MODIS, and it's showing us some smoke and haze that wasn't apparent on the earlier VWIRS imagery. There's also an ability to look at where these orbits pass. It's on the right-hand menu bar. It's under Orbits, and you'll need to click on the Advanced tab. If you zoom out, you'll be able to see the times when these satellites passed a certain region. And if you click on the information icon corresponding with each satellite, they'll tell you the time that it passed the equator in UTC or Zulu time. And if you're good at math, you can make a calculation and find out specifically when it will pass over your area. So this has been a very brief run through on some of the features and the resources available on NASA's Firm system. It's a powerful tool. I highly recommend it just for the convenience. There's also the Canadian Wildland Fire Information System, and it's very detailed and includes the M3 or triangulated hotspots. And I'd like to do a comparison of that a little bit later. And I actually like the Canadian system because of the detail that it offers, but for screen use and showing this on video, I find the NASA system is a little bit brighter and a little bit easier for the audience to perceive. And of course, if you are going to track fire behavior, you're going to need some good wind software, and that's where Windy comes in, and it's been a very valuable resource. It's used by pilots, people on the ground, and It also includes some very powerful features. We'll take a quick look through the Windy system. First off, click anywhere on the screen and you'll get a windsock or a flag. On that is a down arrow. Click on that and you'll get the weather forecast. At the bottom of the forecast are the different weather station models, and there's also a compare button where you can see all the different weather models stacked up on top of each other. There's a menu icon on the right hand portion of the screen, and they have many different overlays. I like to use the rain one so I can see what extent rainfall will accumulate in a given region. There are so many features on this system. I highly recommend you just scroll through and try them all. Click all the buttons. You're not going to break it. Back on the weather forecast, there's a couple of icons that pop up on the left-hand side. One is the weather stations in the area and another is webcams. If you click on weather stations, you can see where the data is being collected from in this area. And I've noticed at this position northwest of Merritt and to the east of Lytton that there is a wind event coming on Sunday, August 22nd. Winds could exceed 60 kilometers an hour. The direction being forecast is from the southwest and the peaks should hit about 5 p.m. This is why knowing the wind forecast is vital to watching fire behavior. And if we move that flag just a few kilometers, the wind forecast changes. It's a little bit calmer in the area closer to Logan Lake. If we click that X on the left-hand side and go back to looking at the map, we can also see a slider bar at the bottom of the screen, and if you move that, you can see the wind change dynamically. You can access webcams and other features like fire intensity on the right-hand side menu icon, but you can also go to the forecast and hit the webcam button on the left-hand side of the screen. And Windy is connected to the DRIVEBC system as well. If there's an issue with one of those cams, there's also private cams accessible on Windy. And one of the features that I like and appreciate is the ability to scroll back in time and take a look at what happened throughout the day. So if you have internet access at your location, combining the firm system from NASA and Windy is a pretty powerful package to have on your tablet or your phone, and to be able to look at where the fire is, what direction is the wind blowing, what is the vegetation and terrain between me and the fire line? Is there a ground report where I can get an update on the situation? And what are my access routes? How am I going to get out of this area if I need to quickly? Because as we've seen, these fire zones and perimeters can change quite quickly. That's where a combination of DRIVEBC and the BC wildfire situation pages are vital. So I'd like to thank you all very much for watching. The fairly long video. I hope this informed you about NASA's firm system, a little bit more about Windy. Be safe out there. Check in on friends and relatives. Stay in touch, and I appreciate all your comments and ground reports. That's fantastic. It shares with others what's happening in your area. Be safe out there. I'll be back with update and maybe some more how-tos. Keep your nose to the breeze.